You know that feeling? You're scrolling through Instagram and you see someone at a coffee shop with one of those impossibly smooth oat milk lattes sitting at a wooden table with perfect lighting. The kind of moment that looks like it was styled by a photographer. And suddenly, that coffee looks different than the one you made at home. It tastes like something you don't have. Or maybe it's different for you. Maybe it's the way someone casually mentions their gym membership, or the brand of their water bottle, or the fact that they flew business class because they had miles. And there's this weird thing that happens in your brain where you think, I need that too. Not because you actually want it, but because somewhere deep down, you know that wanting it will make you feel different about yourself. Like you'd finally be the kind of person who has things like that. I'm Synth, and welcome back, legends. In this video, we explore another critical topic from the world of finance, one that shapes markets, economies, and everyday lives. If you value clear, well-researched explanations without the noise, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Now, let's begin. I spend way too much time thinking about money and why people make the financial decisions they do. Honestly, it's kind of an obsession at this point. I think about it constantly. And here's what I've noticed, both in my own life and watching people around me. We're not really buying products. We're buying versions of ourselves. We're buying the story we tell other people about who we are. And that story, it's incredibly expensive, sometimes devastatingly expensive. Most people have no idea they're doing this. They think they want the thing. They rationalize the purchase. But if you dig deeper, if you really ask yourself why you want it, you'll find something else hiding underneath. Something about identity, about status, about how you want to be perceived. And today, I want to pull back the curtain on what I call the status signaling trap, because understanding it might just change how you spend money forever. Seriously. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Humans are not rational creatures. We like to believe we are. We think when we buy something, we've done the math, we've thought it through logically. But the truth is, a huge part of our purchases come from something much more primal, the desire to be seen a certain way by other people. This isn't new. This has been happening for centuries. Back in the 1800s, an economist named Thorstein Veblen noticed something weird about rich people. They weren't just buying expensive things because expensive things were better. They were buying expensive things specifically because they were expensive. He called it conspicuous consumption, and honestly, it's such a perfect name for what's happening. You're not buying a luxury handbag because it carries your stuff better than a regular bag. You're buying it because everyone who sees it will know you spent $400 on something to carry your stuff. That's the whole point. And here's the thing, it actually works. Status signaling genuinely does communicate something to other people. It says, I have money, or I'm cultured, or I care about my health, or I'm the kind of person who travels. The problem is, once everyone figures out the signal, everyone starts trying to send it. Suddenly, you're in the exhausting arms race where you have to spend more and more money just to stay at the same status level you were at before.
Think about smartphones. 20 years ago, having a cell phone meant you were important, like legitimately important. You were a businessman, you had places to be, you were on the cutting edge. But now, almost everyone has a cell phone, so having a cell phone doesn't signal anything anymore. It's just a utility. What signals status now is having the newest iPhone, or the most expensive phone, or whatever feature the latest model has that older ones don't. The target keeps moving. There's always another rung on the ladder, and once you reach it, someone's already climbing higher. Here's the sneaky part. Status signals are inherently social. They only work if other people see them and understand them. So you're not really buying things for yourself, you're buying them for an audience. And your audience changes constantly. Sometimes it's your parents, sometimes it's your coworkers, sometimes it's strangers on the internet you'll never meet. You're spending your money for people's approval, and you don't even realize it's happening. You think you're making a choice, but really, you're being pulled by invisible strings. So here's where it gets really interesting. We think of buying things as an expression of who we are. If I'm creative, I buy a MacBook. If I'm health conscious, I buy organic groceries and a Peloton. If I'm successful, I buy a luxury car. And there's this feeling that these purchases somehow solidify our identity, like we're literally buying our way into becoming the person we want to be. But here's the psychological truth that nobody wants to admit. Buying something doesn't make you that person. It just makes you someone who has money and access to that thing. A MacBook doesn't make you creative. Organic groceries don't make you healthy. Actually eating them, actually taking care of your body does. And a luxury car doesn't make you successful. It might just make you someone in debt. There's this concept in psychology called symbolic self-completion, and it's kind of the engine of the status signaling trap. The basic idea is that when we feel like we're missing something, whether it's competence, success, attractiveness, whatever, we try to fill that gap by buying things that symbolically represent that quality. We're trying to close the gap between who we are and who we want to be. If you feel unsuccessful, you buy a watch that says successful person. If you're not confident in your appearance, you buy clothes that say confident person. It's like we're trying to fake it till we make it through purchases. Like if we just own the right things, we'll become the right person. And here's where the trap gets really vicious. The feeling lasts maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks if you're lucky. Then it fades. The novelty wears off, so you need to buy something else, the newest thing, the next thing, something to fill that gap again. You're not buying the object, you're buying the temporary feeling of being the person you want to be. And because that feeling is temporary, you have to keep buying. It's a treadmill you didn't even know you were on, and it never stops. I remember a specific moment where I realized I'd spent $4,000 on workout equipment that I used maybe once a month. And I wasn't using it once a month because I was lazy or unmotivated. I wasn't using it because I loved the idea of being someone who had a home gym more than I loved actually working out. It looked good on Zoom calls for work. It made me feel productive just looking at it. Made me feel like the kind of person who takes their health seriously. But I didn't actually enjoy using it. That's thousands of dollars spent on a feeling, on a signal, on a version of myself that I was trying to convince everyone I was. And the worst part? After a few months, nobody even noticed it was there.
But here's the final ingredient that makes this whole thing absolutely explosive: social comparison. Humans are hardwired, deeply, fundamentally hardwired to evaluate themselves by comparing themselves to other people. We don't have absolute measures of success or worth. We only know if we're doing well by comparing ourselves to someone else. Am I richer than my neighbors? Am I more attractive than my friends? Am I more successful than my colleagues? It's how our brains work. The problem is that the reference point never stops moving. It's always shifting. Think about wealth, for example. If you make $100,000 a year and your friends make $80,000, you feel wealthy. You feel successful. But if your friends start making $120,000, suddenly you feel behind, even though your actual life hasn't changed. Your apartment is the same, your food tastes the same, your daily experience is identical, but psychologically you're now failing, you're behind, and so you need to spend money to catch up. This is why luxury goods are so diabolically effective, because they're visible, they're immediately comparable, and they clearly signal a gap in wealth or status. If someone has a Rolex and you have a regular watch, everyone can see the difference. And now you have to decide, am I okay with everyone seeing that I don't have the Rolex, or do I need to go into debt to buy one? It's a brutal choice, and most of us don't even realize we're making it.
And the really vicious part is that luxury goods are specifically designed to make you feel worse about what you don't have. Advertising doesn't work by making you feel good about the thing. It works by making you feel bad about yourself first. You're not healthy enough, beautiful enough, successful enough, cultured enough. But if you buy this, you will be. Social media has taken this entire process and weaponized it. Now you're comparing yourself to hundreds of carefully curated versions of strangers' lives, and every single one is showing you what you don't have: the best meal, the best vacation, the best version of their existence. And so you feel like your life, your meals, your days, your moments are never quite enough. The goalposts never stop moving. Genuinely wealthy people, people with $10 million, are stressed about money because they know someone with $50 million. It's an endless game with no winning condition. So what's the real cost of this trap? Yes, there's the financial cost. The average American household carries about $6,000 in credit card debt. A lot of that is for status purchases, things that depreciate, things that don't improve your life in any meaningful way. Thousands of dollars that could have gone to your actual future, to building security, to something that matters.
But here's what's worse: the psychological cost. When you're trapped in the status signaling cycle, you're outsourcing your self-worth to other people's opinions. You're saying, my value is determined by whether people think I'm successful, attractive, cultured. And that's an incredibly fragile way to live, because you're constantly dependent on external validation. You're always looking over your shoulder to see if you're still sending the right signal. Is this still impressive? Am I still ahead? You stop being able to distinguish between what you actually want and what you think you should want. Over time, that erodes your autonomy. You're making decisions based on what other people want you to be instead of what you actually want to be. And that's exhausting, psychologically draining. You're never quite at peace because you're never quite sure if you're signaling correctly. I think this is why so many successful people talk about feeling empty. They climbed the ladder, got the things, sent all the signals, and then they got to the top and realized that their own impression of themselves was the only thing that mattered. And they'd spent so long signaling to everyone else that they had no idea who they actually were. So how do you break out of this trap? I think you have to develop what I call signal awareness. You have to become conscious of when you're buying because you want something versus when you're buying because you want to signal something. And this is harder than it sounds because our brains are really good at rationalizing purchases. Before you buy something, ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Do I use the budget version of this regularly? If you're thinking about buying a premium coffee maker, do you actually use your current coffee maker every day? Or if you're thinking about luxury sneakers, are you someone who actually exercises? Because if you don't use the budget version, you're not going to use the luxury version either. You'll just own it and it'll sit there. 2. Would I buy this if nobody would ever know I bought it? This is the signal question. If the answer is no, if you'd only buy it so people know you have it, then stop. Don't do it. That's pure status signaling, and it's not worth it. 3. Does this align with who I actually am? Not who I'm trying to become, but who I actually am right now. Because the things you own should reflect who you already are, not who you're pretending to be. And here's the surprising part. Once you stop trying to impress people, people actually respect you more. When you stop trying, you just exist, and that's refreshing. People are attracted to authenticity. And financially, you build actual wealth, real money. The most underrated form of status is being financially secure, not stressed, not performing, just genuinely secure. The most impressive person you can be is someone who knows who they are and doesn't need to prove it to anyone. That's actual power. That's actual status. You don't need the fancy things to be happy. You just need to know that. And once you do, everything changes.